Okay, so I think we can get started now. So welcome to the webinar on building smart applications using Python and AI. So all of you should have received a prompt to take a poll just to identify yourself, whether you're an educator or a student or a parent, etc. So please take the poll. It helps us understand the composition of the audience and what might be more interesting to each one of you. Um, So once you do that, we'll have a good analysis of the composition and we can get started. So our speaker today is Nisha Talagala. She is the CEO of a company called Pixida. She has about 20 years of experience in building software and storage systems, and she has several years of experience in also building softwares that deal with AI. She holds several patents and several publications in conferences. She has been a speaker in a lot of them. She also writes columns in several AI journals. And she also has an 11-year-old daughter, and she understands the current landscape of how the courses that offer Python or AI lack or have, or what would help students in K-12 to understand AI and to kind of get excited about it. So I'll hand it off to Nisha, and if you have any questions through this webinar, please feel free to post them on the Zoom chat. You can send it as a direct message to me. I'll curate them and I'll ask all the questions towards the end of the webinar.
Thank you, Sindhu. So let's get started, everyone. Thank you for being here. And so this is our webinar on how to build smart applications with Python and AI, and targeted to K through 12 students. So first of all, who are we? So, we are a group called AIClub. You can actually see our website here at http://aiclub.world. And what we are is a group of experts in both software and artificial intelligence, who also happen to be parents and have a great fondness for seeing children as well as people from all walks of life understand and learn some of these technologies. We provide education programs for K through 12 and beyond, and our programs are designed by PhDs in both artificial intelligence and computer science, who have a great deal of experience in both of these fields and have not only done PhDs in these fields, but also have worked in both large and small companies, driven startups and things like that. And so we have a very good idea of how these technologies are used in real life. Using that knowledge and using our kind of understanding of education and such, we created some of these programs. And we have seen proven success in these programs with students of various ages and feedback from both parents and educators. We have had K through 12 students build hundreds of projects with artificial intelligence, most projects of their own creation, and they're able to showcase them and demonstrate them. And it has been a wonderful learning experience for these students. Our students have gone on to make multiple competition wins. They have won international competitions as well as local, county, science, technology, engineering, and math, STEM competitions, in their schools and in their school districts. So they're able to not just learn these things, but also apply them to solve real world problems. And we'll talk about some of the things that, that have really kind of driven our Python and AI, learning approaches. This is a little bit more about who we are. It's just some screenshots that are added, and what you can see here are, we also provide resources on our website for both parents and educators that cover, everything from why project-based learning is important to what does it mean to combine programming and AI, what does it mean to combine robotics and AI, how do all these fields link together, some of the win competitions that our students have won, some of the things that they have accomplished. You will even find blogs from our students at this website, and so as well as some testimonials from both educators and parents. One thing that we are very happy with is the fact that, after taking one of our learning programs, pretty much every student wants to learn more programming or learn more AI, and their interest in math also goes up quite substantially. And we have a very extensive project site, and this is just a simple screenshot of it here of some of the projects. There's 6 projects listed here, where you can see some of the things that our students have actually built during some of their learning programs. So, what are we going to cover today in this webinar? So this webinar is at the intersection of 2 technologies, namely Python and artificial intelligence. And we'll talk a bit about each one of them individually before we talk about them together. So the first is, why should you learn Python? The second is, why should you learn AI? And then the third is, how do I use them together? How do these things actually relate to each other? And what can I build if I use a little bit of one and a little bit of the other? And in order to just show that, and showing is better than talking, we will show you guys an example of a demo of a game that you can teach an AI to play. And the game is written in Python, and you can teach an AI to play the game on your behalf. And we'll also talk about some more different ideas of things that our students have done. And then we'll talk a bit about how you can get started, and then we will take questions. So as Sindhu mentioned, if you have questions, please do send them during the webinar, and we will go through all of the questions at the end. So let's start off at the beginning of why should you learn Python? So Python is one of the fastest growing programming languages in the industry, and it has some of the benefits that it's actually very easy to learn, but at the same time, extremely powerful. So it is not a language that you learn just for the sake of learning. Real world applications are increasingly built in Python, and some of the most advanced artificial intelligence applications actually are also built in Python. So when students learn Python, they're not just learning how to program, they're actually learning a skill that they could use in so many different kinds of jobs across the world. It is built for all sorts of applications. One of the reasons why Python has become so powerful and so ubiquitous and is around everywhere is because it has this enormous collection of libraries. So libraries are basically, already written programs, modules that the other people can use to build up powerful applications. So when you're building an application, you don't have to do everything from scratch. Because it's Python, there are enormous array of libraries that do every possible thing you can think of. And all you need to do is to really bring them in, add to them, extend them, use your own programming, but you can very quickly put together, very powerful things by reusing it. And the community is also huge. So there are lots of people to talk to. You can share your code, you can, get ideas from people. So because of that, it's just a wonderful place to be in. There are tons and tons of examples. And then, as I mentioned, Python is increasingly becoming the single most important language for artificial intelligence. And I'll talk about this a little bit more, a few minutes later into the webinar. So now let's talk a bit about why should you learn artificial intelligence? So artificial intelligence has experienced a massive sort of renaissance in the last 10 years. It has been around for a long time. It's been around for more than 50 years, but in the last 10 years, sort of 3 things have happened that have made it really important. The first is that, there's now a tremendous amount ability to, run compute, as in very, very powerful computers that are available to the average person to rent, for example, on the internet. The second is, companies like Google, Uber, Netflix, Amazon have basically, created a situation where now lots and lots of information about people is now being gathered. AI thrives on information. So if you don't have data, an AI cannot learn. And so now what has happened is that a massive amount of information is available. And so people are starting to find that they are now able to and want to use this information to learn things from it. And that coupled with the massive amount of computer power that's available is now making it possible to learn things from data that were not really plausible before. The third thing is actually tied to some of the things I mentioned about Python, which is there are so many very powerful and very interesting applications that people are writing and sharing with other people. And so that has also made it possible to do all amazing things with artificial intelligence relatively quickly. So those three things together are really the reason why AI has gone from something that used to be taught in colleges to something that is literally probably in everything that you touch online. It's in the devices that our children interact with in their houses. It's in cars that they drive. It's in websites that they visit. So it's everywhere. So it's absolutely a necessity for children of all ages to really understand this stuff. So speaking to that point, of AIs being all around us, I just put some examples here. Now, this is like, for example, a way that a self-driving car sees the road. And so it will look at, there will be a camera on the road, and it will essentially be able to identify cars that are around it, and then try to track, is this car moving? Is it getting closer? Things like that. you know, Digital assistants are now all around us, like Alexa, Siri, Google Home, and you can talk to them and interact with them. There are AIs that measure everything around you, from, pictures that you are seeing. It may, decide whether or not you're in a good mood and then use that to sell you something. It might be predicting the weather. This is actually an example of an algorithm that was used to create the very first image of the black hole that was actually shared with the world about a year ago. So you can see that artificial intelligence is in applications that are everywhere around us. Students who learn artificial intelligence, even at the K through 12 age, can do some amazing things. We will show you later an example of, how, our students have used AI to actually, solve problems in their community. You can use it for climate, agriculture, the environment, control robots, create new music, or do your own STEM research. So there's lots of things that, students, even before they go into college, can use their AI to not just understand the world around them, but also apply it to solve real problems. And the intersection of Python and AI makes that much more powerful. So if you are armed with some knowledge of artificial intelligence and you're armed with some knowledge of Python, you have the ability to create some truly amazing things. So now going back to, we talked a bit about, Python. Why is Python interesting all by itself? And then why is Python interesting for AI? So now this is, so the second part is, why is Python interesting for AI? So what this chart shows is, the use of different programming languages in artificial intelligence. And you can see that a very large number of languages are actually used by real companies. Some are, kind of very well established, languages like C and C++. You have Java, you have other languages like SQL that are very much just for databases. But Python is by far the most popular language, and every day the Python is becoming the more dominant language for AI. So that's just yet another reason to really learn Python, is that it's not just that you can build cool things, but you can actually invest in a skill that is definitely going to serve you well in the future. And particularly if you're interested in artificial intelligence, if you learn the two, then you're in a very powerful position to solve real world problems and do some very interesting things. So now there are many ways in which you can use, Python and AI together. However, we are going to focus in this webinar on just one of those things, and that is how to build smart applications. So what do I mean by a smart application? So smart application, so if you think about a typical application, and there may not really even be a thing as a typical application, because there are so many different things that you could do in an app. But say hypothetically that you wanted to have an app that was something like a digital assistant. And this is by an application that one of our students, who is actually in middle school and actually in 6th grade, has actually built for himself using his combination of Python and AI. Now, what did he want to build? He wanted to build an application that would ask you questions, or you could ask questions like an assistant, and then the application would answer the question. So a simple question might be, what time is it? Or another question might be, what is the temperature outside, or something like that. And so he basically built a Python application to do this. And the Python application essentially gave me a place where I could type in questions. And then he looked for the words inside the question and tried to figure out what the question was, and then tried to form an answer. So this is the kind of thing that you can build with Python, and you can make it, progressively more sophisticated and advanced as you go along. Now, where does the AI fit in? Well, what he found out was that there were many ways in which I could ask, what time is it? I could say, tell me the current time, or I could say, what time. I could say, what time is it? Or I could say, can you please tell me the time as it is right now? So there's lots and lots of ways to do it. But I could also say questions like, what time would it be tomorrow, morning, or something like that, where just the simple presence of the word time was not enough to figure out what was going on. So this is where the AI came in. So he was able to train an AI, and we'll show you in a bit how things like that are done. But he was able to train an AI where he could put in a sentence, and the AI would predict whether or not the person was asking what time it was. So that's a place where an application can become a smart application. So now by integrating the AI, he was basically able to say, okay, now my user can type anything I want into the application. I'm going to send that sentence to an artificial intelligence. It is going to come back and tell me what the person is asking. Once I know what the person is asking, then I can use my Python program to figure out the answer. So that was step one. How else did he use AI? So he was able to use AI to actually, connect up a very convenient library that he found on the internet from Python, where he could basically convert sound, capture sound, and then he used an AI to convert the sound to text. So then he had a situation where now he had a much smarter application that I could talk to, and it had the ability to convert the sound to text, and then it had the ability to figure out what the question was. So this is a perfect example of how the land of programming and the land of AI intersect in order to build some really smart apps. So you can imagine that when you build any kind of an application, it has a tendency to gather up data, and you can use that data to train an AI and have the AI make predictions, make recommendations, make decisions even, and then you can combine those decisions with your programming in order to make your application smarter. And with methods like this, you can basically teach students how to solve real world problems by combining their programming skills and their artificial intelligence skills. So this is one example. And now how does an example like that basically come together? So first of all, you have a program. This program is doing some kind of an application, and it has some kind of an interaction with the user. This program, while it's running, tends to generate data. What does an AI do with data? An AI is capable of learning patterns from the data, and then it is able to make predictions, make decisions, make recommendations based upon those patterns. It can then provide those predictions back to the application. So what you really have here is effectively two applications. One is your primary application and one is your AI application. And this, by the way, is the way in which many different AIs in the real world are used. So imagine, for example, that you had your bank. Your bank is trying to figure out whether or not to give you an interest rate reduction. What's going to happen is that there's going to be an AI that they train, and that AI is going to look at lots and lots of patterns of bank users. And then it's going to decide that for some users with some criterion, a lower interest rate would be in everybody's interest. Now, you are not talking to the AI when you log into your bank. You're talking to probably the website of your bank. That website is your application. And what the website is going to do is when you show up, it's going to send your information to the AI and say, what do you think about this guy? Do you think he should get a lower interest rate? And then the AI will come back and say yes or no. If it says yes, then your website will pop up a nice message that says, hey, you've qualified for a lower interest rate. So this is the way that many, many real world applications work. There is an AI, it is its own program, it is running somewhere. And you have another program that is really the one that is doing the primary job, and it is using one or more AIs to give it recommendations, give it intelligence, and then it is going to act on that intelligence over here. So when we talk about the very first step of combining Python and AI, and we teach students of all ages how to do that, this is the way that we start. So the way that we start is that we say that, okay, let's think about what problem you're trying to solve. Let's build an app to solve that problem. How can we make that app smart? Do we have information? Can we learn patterns from that information? If we can, let's build an AI to work with your app and then connect the two together, and now your app has gotten a lot smarter. So this, to kind of illustrate an example of something like this at work, we are going to show you a little demonstration of a tank shooter game. So games, by the way, are a really good example of where AIs can be used very effectively, because essentially a game usually has a purpose. And what you're trying to learn is what are the patterns that work well in the game. And then an AI that has learned those patterns can do anything from assisting you with the game to playing the game on your behalf. So that is the sequence that we are going to kind of show you today. The basic idea, this is a very simple game, so that you can see kind of how a student can easily grasp and do something like this, and it can become a building block for things that they build in the future. So the concept of the game is really simple, and we'll show you a video in just a minute or two that illustrates this. But the basic idea is that you have these targets, and then you have a tank. And if you are playing the game by yourself, what you would want to do is that you would want to orient your tank to shoot at each of these targets. And the targets happen to be moving, and the tank, may also be moving. So if you're playing by yourself, then you are doing the task of recognizing where the targets are, and then trying to orient your tank and then shooting. So that's what would happen if you played by yourself. Now, how would an AI learn? An AI basically learns by detecting patterns. So there are many ways to generate patterns, but one really simple way to generate patterns is to gather data while you're playing, because you will hit some targets, you will miss some targets. So essentially, the longer you play, the more information that you have gathered that an AI can learn from. So if you've played the game for some time, then you can essentially take all of your wins and tell it to the AI and say, okay, these are the scenarios where I won. And by definition, every other scenario I lost in. That's enough for an AI to learn. So what will the AI learn? The AI will learn how to look at the landscape of the targets, figure out where it is, and then figure out how to target each of these in turn. That's basically what the AI learns. So once you've trained an AI, it can take over the controls for you. So rather than you playing the game, the AI could be playing the game. At any point in time, it will look at the situation, it will start shooting things. You can do any number of things with this kind of an exercise. You could compete with your AI and see whether or not you could do better. How quickly will it learn? You could have the AI assist you. Maybe it will, you can have it do part of the work, and then you can do the rest of it, and things like that. And so there's lots of different ways that, you can create a very powerful program by combining it with an intelligence that learns from the past experiences. So what I'm going to show you now is I'm going to show you guys a quick video of how this particular, AI, demonstration actually works. So first of all, let me try to share my screen. So this is about how do you create a game in Python and how do you connect an AI to this game. And this is all, by the way, simple enough Python code that we have had many students from the age range of, I would say, about 9 to about 14 be able to do this. So this is the Python code. This is what happens if you're playing it by yourself. So this is a human just playing it. Now, once the human has played it, a bunch of data has gotten created. We can now give this data to an AI. And the AI is now going to learn from this data. And once I have an AI running that can learn from the data, it can now play the game all by itself. So I put a pointer to the AI here. And now the AI is playing the game. So what you're seeing here is basically the AI doing all the shooting. And if it has a lot of information and is trained well, it will actually get a really good score. So that's an example of how AIs and computer programs can be put together to create some really wonderful and exciting projects, and also really motivate students to make their AIs better, learn how AIs work, and then build ever more interesting things. Some other examples of things that students have done. So I mentioned already, the digital assistant and having, the ability to create these really interesting digital assistants. Predicting the weather is something our students have done. They've done disease detection using, publicly available data for everything from breast cancer to, early indicators of COVID-19. They've done trash sorting and trash recycling. They've also combined, used their knowledge of programming to combine things like IoT devices like Arduino directly with the AI and solve some interesting kind of community problems. So I'm going to share with you guys now a quick video of one of those, particularly focused on trash. This particular project actually won an international competition for AI for use for solving community problems. And this was called the Smart Waste Sorter, and it was created by a team of kids called the Recycle Squad. So these kids are, these are the 4 kids. This is the mother of of 2 of them, and they range in age between, I want to say 8 or 9 to about 11 or 12.
The Recycle Squad! The battery was once sorted in recycling, which caused a fire in the facility. When someone tries to throw away flimsy plastic into a recycling bin, our smart waste sorter triggers a buzzer alerting them.
So the basic idea here was that, they found an interesting problem, and the interesting problem is that, trash that has gone into recycling frequently gets misclassified, and things that shouldn't be there, like flimsy plastic and batteries, sometimes make it into the recycling. They dug into this problem, and they found out that, there have been instances where machines in recycling centers have gotten jammed, that fires were started in the factory because things that were not supposed to be recycled had made it in there. So how did they use AI to solve this problem? They basically trained an AI to tell the difference between acceptable recycling and unacceptable recycling. And they did that by taking tons and tons of pictures of different kinds of trash and then training an AI to tell the difference. Then how did they combine this with a program? So they actually programmed, a physical sensor to take a picture of a piece of trash and then, alert a buzzer if that trash was not suitable for recycling. So this was a great example of something that where, students can learn the core technologies like, AI, like how to build programs to solve problems, then apply those, learnings to solve a real world problem and be able to share their, solution with the world. And so this particular one, for example, has gotten a great deal of interest because everybody understands that recycling is a very important prerogative, and that misclassifying trash is a very serious problem. So these are some of the things that we have found that, students have done and been able to do with the things that we have, the programs that we do. So now let me kind of jump really quickly into how can you get started. So I think, the audience in this particular webinar, we have both parents and educators. So I'm going to answer the question for both parents and educators. If you are a parent or a student and you really want to learn this stuff, we have programs that we run. They're entirely online. And particularly we have a program on Python and AI that starts in July. You do not need to know any Python and you do not need to know any AI. We teach you both, and by the end of this program you will be able to build your own custom application that uses both Python and AI. And you will define what that application is, and you will have enough knowledge that you can build it all by yourself. So that is what we recommend for parents and students in the grade 5 to grade 12 arena. Now, if you're an educator, we provide a fairly large array of things. And we typically do these on a one-on-one consulting basis. So we encourage you to email us. You can email us at theeducators@pixida.ai in an email address, and let us know what's going on, and we will work with you individually to figure out the fit of programs that are right for you. We provide curriculums. We have a large body of resources in the forms of videos, slides, presentation material, articles, exercises, projects, quizzes, and things like that we have used ourselves, and we know that they work, and we've tuned it through experiences of hundreds of students. We provide all of those materials as part of our educator support. We also provide live training sessions where we will train the educators, and depending on your situation, to be able to teach these classes in your own classroom. And we do this periodically. So please email us at educators@pixida.ai if you'd like a one-on-one consultation. Now, our primary website, http://AIClub.world, which I will put back here, also has a place where you can sign up for free accounts. So if you'd like to go there and sign up for a free account, you're more than welcome to do that. There's lots of projects and resources there online, and you can follow those and build anything that you like. Our structured programs are the ones that are here, that if you would like to have something that's more structured and more supported, just putting it here, that's kind of what you can contact us for this way. So what I will do now is I'm going to take a pause here. We have about 10 minutes left in the webinar, and there are a few questions here that I can answer. So one question I see on the chat is, how long does the July class run for? It runs for 8 weeks. It is 1.5 hours a week for 8 weeks. Can an educator join the kids class? Absolutely. That should be okay.
Nisha, there were a few more questions in Q&A. So someone asked if they need to pay to use this platform if they want to train a model in this platform.
So you do not need to pay if you want to train a model on this platform. You can use the platform for free. There are free accounts. Now the free accounts do have some limitations. So one of the limitations is that there are some very expensive AIs, like AIs that use GPUs for training images. We limit the amount of that you can use on the free platform, but there's a massive array of things that you can do on the free platform.
Nisha, I think the website was not posted to everybody.
Okay.
So do you want me to post the AI Club website or the K-12?
So you can post the AI Club website, and you can also post the K-12 program, perhaps. So this is the main AI Club website that Sindhu just posted, and then our K-12 program, she's going to post separately.
Yeah, so I think the question they're having is, apart from enrolling into the class, is the platform free and will it be available after the class? Do the kids need to continue to pay if they want to build models on the platform once they have learned AI?
No, we provide 1 year of access to the platform for any student who has taken any class. So they can go and continue to build, AIs on the platform even after the class is over.
Okay, and I think we have, so let me actually address the logistics questions that we got while you were doing it, and then we have some more questions specifically about the classes. So would the recording of this webinar and the slides that you presented in the webinar be available for the attendees?
Uh, yes, so all attendees will get a recording of the webinar by email.
Mm-hmm. And the slides via SlideShare, a link for them can also be shared on the same to the same attendees. And regarding more questions about the classes, so for weekly classes, for example, are they once a week? How long do they run? And things like that. So
Yeah, so typically our classes run once a week. And depending, the elementary class runs for 1 hour a week. The any class that's middle school and up runs for 1.5 hours a week. We also offer summer camps, and those are typically Monday through Friday of a single week, and they're much more intensive. They're intended to be camps, not classes. And they will run for 3 hours a day, every day, for exactly 1 week.
Yeah, Nisha, if you could also comment on I think they have a question about the duration. So if it's once a week, then like how many courses are there and how long does the duration of the class run?
So, sorry, can you repeat one more time?
Sorry, so the question was like, if it's once a week for 1.5 hours, how long are these classes, and kind of like, what's the progression? Like, is it just one class and then like, the student forgets about it?
Of course. So let me answer the first question. So our programs are typically, the elementary school programs run for 4 weeks. The middle school AI programs run for 6 weeks, and the middle school and high school Python and AI programs run for 8 weeks. So typically the range is from 4 weeks to 8 weeks, and it's once a week, always. Now, actually, perhaps the best way to answer the question about the curriculum is to show you guys the curriculum. That might be the best thing to do. So let me really quickly bring up, for example, our middle school curriculum. So I'm just loading it up now, and then I can share it with you. So this is so I'm going to share this on my screen here. So this is our middle school curriculum. And so students who, finish the elementary school curriculum can move into the middle school one. And what you can see here is that, we have a very comprehensive and detailed curriculum for, for every level. You have introductory classes that have no prerequisites. Then you move on to more advanced classes, which are basically assuming that you know the things in the previous classes. Our advanced classes cover specific topics like different kinds of AI techniques, introduction to neural networks, and increasingly advanced topics. And we also couple that with increasingly advanced topics in Python. So we have a very rich and full curriculum for every level of this of the grades before grade 12. We also support additional supplementary curriculums, like we have an IoT curriculum that shows you how to connect physical devices like Arduino and such, and build apps in not just Python but also HTML and iOS. We also and they have a self-paced program for students who are interested in working deeply on a particular topic, can go ahead and work with us individually in our self-paced program. Any other questions, Sindhu?
Yeah, so Nisha, another question is, if an educator wants to take this, how do they, and if they're new to AI, how do they learn? And what is kind of the price point if they want to introduce this to their class?
Yeah, so basically the way this would work is that we would set up a one-on-one consultation with you so that we can understand your unique situation, like what is the level of the students that you're targeting, in what format would you like to teach them, how frequently do they meet, and then we will help you put together a program. virtually all of the educators that we deal with have no AI experience. Many of them, have a great deal of experience teaching students, typically teaching them in various STEM fields, some in computer science, but no AI experience. And so this is part of the reason why we have such an extensive array of resources. And we have our own learning management system as well, where you as an educator can basically engage with us and learn the material. And you can, review everything from the content as well as videos of past classes where we have taught it. So that is basically the way that we, educate teachers. And then regarding the price point, the price point is usually for education is usually a very customized thing. And it depends a lot on what you're teaching and how many students and so forth. And so we typically negotiate those individually with educators depending on their circumstance. Any other questions, Sindhu?
Yes, Nisha. So for educators, if they, take this, are they able to see what their students are building? And do the students need to install anything on their computers? Can it be like completely online?
Yeah, so first of all, one of the great advantages of our program is it is completely online and there is nothing that you need to install on your students' computers. And this, by the way, for education has many significant benefits. Your students could come into your classroom, use all the online tools on your classroom's computer, go home. If you want them to use their home computer to do their homework, which is completely online, you don't have to send any devices home with them. Nobody needs to install anything, any kind of a laptop, desktop will do. It doesn't matter what operating system it is. We simply ask that you install a standard web browser because everything is done on the internet. Also, given that everything is done online, you have the ability to try out and see what your students are doing.
So I think those were all the questions that I saw from the attendees.
Okay, very
yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach us. I can post the email ID over here and we'll get in touch with you. But otherwise, I think those were all the questions. So yeah, there's a comment that this is perfect for distance learning. Yeah, exactly right. I will resend. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I guess you're answering some of those questions. So I think this is it for this webinar. Please feel free to contact us with any additional questions you might have.
Sounds good. Yeah. And so,
okay.
Yeah. No, go ahead, please.
So there's one question. Do we have like free examples to learn from, like free resources?
Absolutely. So you'll find a ton of free resources on the AIClub website. So the two places I would encourage you to go look. When you go log into the AIClub website, there's a section called resources. That is more about resources on how learning AI works and ways that you can think about AI relative to other important fields like programming or robotics. There's also a section called blogs where you can see things written by previous students, that will give you an idea of what students can do. Then last but absolutely not least is go to the section called projects. You'll find that there's more than 100 projects there. And the vast majority of them were done by kids between grade 5 and grade 10. So there are, if you're looking for ideas, if you're looking for data sets, there are some live AIs there that you can try. So, so there's tons and tons of them, and all of those are included in the free account. Thank you, everyone. If you have any other questions, we'll be on the webinar for an extra minute or so. Thank you, everyone who's sending all the thank you messages. We really appreciate your time spending with us. Thank you all. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to drop us a note at any time. It's educators@pyxida.ai, and this recording will be sent to all of you. If you do not receive the recording for any reason, please do feel free to reach out to us directly. The link, the email of info@pyxida.ai is on all of the webinar registrations, so that will continue to work. And if you can just send us an email if for some reason you did not get the recording, we'll be happy to jump on it and send it to you right away. Thank you all, and take care and have a good evening or good morning, wherever you may be. Thanks.